Okay, good. While the last people are popping in, I will also slowly start already and just put in the chat, and probably David will help you out if you cannot enter the Miro or something, or just interrupt me, and then we can help you out to get you here. But for now, the agenda of today. So I will give a brief introduction about myself and what my correlation is with Lean. We will set a little bit of a baseline about what your knowledge is at this point of time. Then we get into the different domains, and maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't, but we get into what is the difference between Lean and Six Sigma, because you do hear from time to time, I'm a Lean black belt, I'm a Six Sigma black belt, I'm a Lean Six Sigma black belt, and what are very high overly these differences. For today, we will follow more on the Lean segment. I will explain in a moment a little bit deeper why. But a few of the whys are because you are reading a lot on this if you are in a complex work environment, if you are working with the agile mindset, you hear a lot about Lean, Agile. If you're working with Scrum, you also see it in the Scrum guide. So the touch points with Lean are just already there. And going from there, we will get into it in a moment. We will get into a deeper level on what is waste according to Lean, because yes, we do hear probably like Lean thinking is waste reduction, but what does this actually mean? We get into the 5 principles of how to continuously improve according to Lean, and at the end we're gonna reflect together with all of us. So far so good?
Far so good?
Yes.
Okay, nice. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to check with you. So I wanted you all to use the chat. So all the A answers are over here and all the B answers are over here. And this is what I'm going to use to introduce myself. So according to the first question, my most years of experience are in a simple domain or in a complex domain or work environment, and you can put your answers in the chat, and then I can go from there. I see already 1B over here, 1A over here. Okay, very, very divided. Cool. Thanks. So I think I see a little bit more B over there. Correct answer is A. So I have work experience in mostly manufacturing, in Lean and Six Sigma, and this was mostly done in continuous improvement in a simple domain. So doing the first day the same, doing the same product and having in 10 years still the same product and improving on that aspect. And I changed, I think now 2 years ago to the complex work environment because of 2 reasons. One was because I did see we also needed to adapt more also in manufacturing, even though we had a very fixed process line. But every single time when we had a product and we had to anticipate, the quality was quite shit, if you can call it that way. But the customer was kind of accepting that just because of the fact that we were delivering for just a one-time thing. Think of football is coming up soon. So for a football event, we were making this one-time thing. Second thing why I switched and explored a little bit more was focusing on the people side also a bit more. While I was considering that where I was in manufacturing, I always talked about the moral aspect, and most people were just talking about following the process and all those kind of things. And I did mention more touching points in that sense in the complex work environment where I've been so far. Next question is, you can get an A or a B again, and we go to the next ones a little bit faster. So do you think I have more experience in Lean or in Six Sigma? And you can put your answers in the chat. Nice. I also see some deviation in here. A, B, A, another B. Yeah, so also correct answer to this one for myself. I'm a Lean Six Sigma black belt. So I did both. Later, I also certified myself in just a Lean black belt to really notice like, okay, this is the definite extinction between the two. And now I'm using the Lean aspect a little bit more in my daily work. And later you will probably know why. Next question, if I'm a tea or a coffee person. So you can go to the chat. Okay, everybody is quite saying tea. So yes, that's correct. We're not going to stand still too much. Early bird or night owl? A or B? Okay, I see also pretty consistent with some here and there different answers, but also A, that's correct. I love to go to the gym very early morning, preferably around 4 or 5, and then start my days. Yeah, the last question. Let's skip these ones for now. So for my future ambition, would I be considering taking my Lean Master Black Belt or considering world domination? So you can. Okay, really cool. Yeah, so probably both. Cool. At least I know my people if I will ever consider world domination, who I will cooperate with. So thank you for that. So that's a little bit introduction about me. I work these days, and you see that also in the middle at Scrum facilitators. So they are giving a lot of training in Scrum, and they had a little bit less background in Lean and in Six Sigma, and I had no background in Scrum and in Agile. So it was for us a win-win situation to work together. So that's where I'm at now, and for an assignment, I'm currently working within ASML. Next part we're going to get into, you already see a box here. So I want you to form your learning objective for today, and what question do you want to get answered at the end of this session. So grab a sticky, put it on there, and form your objective. Nice, I already see examples, combination of Lean and or Six Sigma, where to start a Lean journey, juicy Lean stories, okay. Discover a new lens of Lean. Interesting one, also the anti-patterns, nice. Someone is making a huge sticky to difference between Lean. I already see. Learn the basics of Lean. All right. I think I see one person typing still. I think we will touch upon all these points, but if there are additional questions, also feel free to interrupt me and ask questions. I love that, and it also triggers and grows me every single time because you guys also have a lot of experience, probably other experience than I have. So please share that also in between and question things because that's how we learn. Awesome. Thanks. We'll come back to this also at the end, and then I wonder if you met also your goals. So I have a lot of to be revealed in these things. So I have a few questions also over here for the beginning, and we're also going to reflect on this later. So the first column is what is the difference between Lean and Six Sigma? I know this tool from Lean you can put over here. What is the difference between Lean and Kanban? Because Kanban is also one of the things that we hear a lot and also has a relationship with Lean, but we're going to get into that a little later. Lean means to me what you consider that Scrum Agile has, what Lean doesn't have, and the opposite. So please grab your stickies again. For this one, we will take, let's say 5 minutes, unless we see every person already finished a little bit earlier. All right, I see already great things. We're coming back to this already at the end, but I do see a lot of true things already. For example, this, we're getting into this. This will be also covered, the Gemba, not so much. We're focusing more on the principles for today. Kanban, we will touch upon the philosophy part and the Kanban as well here. Flow, indeed. Kanban we will touch upon a part. You have to help me out with this one. Occam's razor kiss. I have no idea what that means. You can or tell, or otherwise I will continue. Light documentation. Okay, I think this will get clear also through the process. No fluff. Just
Occam's razor, I believe, is a technique often used in medicine, where the principle is that often it's the most obvious answer is the answer. So like they often say,
okay.
if you hear hoofbeats, like so you hear the sound of horses, you assume horses, you don't assume zebras. Even though it could be a zebra, you're more likely to see a horse. So Occam's razor is similar to the principle of KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. Okay. KISS, I know. Occam's razor, didn't hear. Okay. So thank you for sharing it. I will get into it also after this meeting. Prevent waste, improve value. Yes. Openness. One piece flow. Nice. Or single piece flow here. Different of coaching. Interesting. Ceremonies, events, meeting. Scrum Master. Okay, cool. So we'll get into that at the end. So focusing now on one of the first questions that is here, what is the difference between Lean and Six Sigma? I also saw here already Lean is eliminating waste, Six Sigma is minimize variation. And here I saw a similar thing. So yes, having it very simplistically explained. So when you have an input, you process it, you have an output, and you have your product or your service. If you are focusing on the processing side, because where you are working, you always have waste. And what this exact waste is, we will get into it in a moment. But you always working according to not everything that you are doing according to indeed the Lean philosophy is driving value, and everything that is not driving value is called waste. So Lean is really focusing on the processing side, of course, also sometimes analyzing some input output from some learning, but still very focusing on the processing side where the waste is happening. Six Sigma, on the other hand, is more focusing on the input versus output side, comparing those two, so you can indeed have a clear understanding what is happening and how you can reduce variation. And with reducing variation, we can think of also having our quality clear. So maybe you also have a little bit of an idea. If I say more, maybe you already all know. But Six Sigma is really if you're doing the same thing every single day, making the same thing every single day, because it's really based on a lot of statistics. You're putting your input and output to several statistical outcome, and you compare it, and then you have something that you can rely on and compare to improve on a quality perspective and reduce variation. So just by knowing this, wait, let me put this to the side. I have a few things here, and it will be probably chaos, but feel free. So we do have the Stacy matrix. I think a lot of you probably also already know, but the Stacy matrix is most of the time used in Scrum trainings to emphasize the complex work environment and where Agile flourishes at its best. So most of the time it's explained when you have the technology side and the requirement side, and you have everything is known from the technology and the requirement side, you will be in a simple domain. If you are completely on the opposite, nothing is known, everything is unknown, maybe even the product that you are going to make. You have the chaotic domain. If it's a little bit more known than simple, so for example, building a house, you already know the design, you know exactly what you're going to do, but there are some complications during the process popping up, then you are in a complicated work domain, and everything in between is called the complex work environment. You kind of know what product you're going to make, you have a product goal, but other than that, it's quite flexible in a lot of things, and you need to adapt together with your stakeholders on what you're going to make. So you see already these stickies here. I already placed one. So please feel free, all of them together. And if you think this is on a wrong angle, to put one of those, if you, for example, think, okay, Kanban is really in the chaotic domain, put it over there. And then we are gonna have the conversation. And not saying like if you're putting it to one place that nothing from it is applicable to any other any other environment, but it flourishes probably most in one of those environments. All right, I see most of them, most of you are already done and nobody kind of disagrees. So thank you for filling that in. So starting with Agile Scrum, I think that's already for most of the people who are entering this one already quite known. And if not, please tell so. I see lean startup over there. I can understand the confusion because the word lean is in there. But this is quite a younger methodology that is made, or even I have to call it actually a framework. So lean startup is really focused, just like the design thinking, but in a little bit a different way, on the learning part. So if you are making a new product, lean startup is just there in the market, I believe, since 2008, which is not to be confused with lean, but it's a different thing. So if you're reading about lean startup, it's not about the lean we're going to talk about today. Then I see Lean, Kanban, Six Sigma kind of in the same area. So yes, especially Six Sigma, as I explained, I would put probably even more here, because if you are reducing variation needs the same thing every single day. So you have to know what you are doing, you have to know your statistics, and nothing is complicated or complex about it. You're just reducing variation. For example, one of the things that I worked with, if you're working in the medical industry, having defects around or having variation in there is really unacceptable. So you want to have it very clearly in what you're going to give, and the quality standards over there are very high, and every single piece you are making for example, a paracetamol has to be exactly the same of what you are making. So that is where Six Sigma is most applicable. Then we have Lean and Kanban. Yeah, it's a little bit both on the border. So what I do see also in the complex work environment where Scrum is a little bit sometimes, I wouldn't say less applicable, but maybe it's a little bit less complex and you know what you're doing. So maybe you are in a foundational team or infrastructure or something like that. And you kind of know most of the time you have a lot of work that is coming back. Then probably Kanban might be an option for you, just according to the Stacy model. And Lean, I would put it, if I would put it in one place, I would also put it around complicated, simple. But there are several things, and it's also a mindset, a philosophy in many things, and it has a lot of tools in it that are applicable in many ways. Just like the agile mindset, it's a mindset of being adaptable on situations and having those values in your mind, and that can also work from time to time in the simple domain. It's not that it's only working here, but it's most applicable probably in the complex work domain. And same counts for Lean. It's probably most applicable in these situations, but a lot of Lean things and Lean thinking and the philosophy itself, at least that's my perception, I believe is applicable in every environment, and that's why it's also dragged into Lean, Agile, and all those kind of terms. Any questions so far? Okay, then I'm going to continue. So, talking about Lean, I already saw several times here, and that makes me very happy. Waste in a lot of things. Here I saw waste. Here I saw waste. Here I see waste. And of course, some other thing, waste, I see here as well. Optimal process, we get into that one too. And in the flow and for those kind of words as well. But getting more into waste. So according to Lean, there are 3 types of waste, and we're getting deeper in this as well. So you have Muda, Muri, and Mura. Muda is everything that is non-value adding. We get into these terminologies in a little bit as well. So everything that is really clear according to Lean, that is giving no value at all. A very clear understanding. For example, if someone is doing nothing with their time, it's really clear that in this case, person is not giving any value at that moment at all, unless there's some indirect value, obviously. But in general, doing nothing, no value. Then we have overburden. So Muri is a little bit less visible, I would say. If you have, for example, a whole process chain, and one of the machines, maybe the middle one, is maybe needing more maintenance from time to time, probably there's something also there that's imbalanced in overburdening. That's one specific machine in that case. So yeah, there is not really, because this one is a really imbalanced, but this one is really having a heavy load on one of your or employees or machines or whatever the case is. Mura is really focusing on the imbalance. So I also saw many times already written over there the flow. So probably some of you, maybe every one of you already knows about, for example, the flow that you want to create when you are having a scrum board, not to pile up things. That's indeed the imbalance that is somewhere there. So you have uneven type of work all around. That's creating imbalances for everyone, and that's also considered waste. Also a little bit more seen in general than Muri, but less seen than Muda in very high overly told. For now, at first, we're going to focus on the Muda part, so the non-value adding activities. Then we're going over here. Yeah, you already saw it, I think. Yeah, maybe we can do it like this. Maybe you already saw it, but that's okay. So this is, I don't know what it's called in English. We say in Dutch ezelsbruggetje, but it's a way to remember something, a word to remember in a very easy, effective way, an order of different things. So this is an abbreviation of several other words over here that is reflecting back to the Muda itself. So the first one I can give, that's the transport one. So this is one of the things, if you have transport, for example, that is clear, definite waste, non-value adding according to the lean philosophy. So what I want you to do, and you can just put it in the chat for now, think of the I. What would be according to lean? Maybe you already saw it, but perfect. Then you had time to remember it and see if you are correct. What would be in an I something that would be the word that is also according to lean, waste? Nice. I see one person already just put it out there, so that's good. Yeah. Inventory. So reflecting this back to lean, everything that is just there without giving any value and is just inventory is waste. So when I first started in the agile work environment and I saw a backlog, for me that was really like an eye-opening that was happening, because I always learned like everything that you might not doing and is just waiting over there, even if it's online, is inventory, and inventory is waste. So sometimes you also maybe see discussions about inventory backlog. Is that not waste? Yes, no, but you also need ways to sometimes operate from time to time. But the inventory part, because this model grew out of manufacturing, so in that sense, the inventory is mostly meant as physical products piling up somewhere. But of course, it's also applicable to the complex work environment or the online work environment. Going to the M, I think maybe someone already draw movement, I see. Yeah, nice. Yeah, kind of would probably say the same thing. So indeed, officially called motion, but movement is for me the same thing. So when you are moving unnecessarily from one to another place, and even when you're not moving something unnecessarily from one to another place, it's not something that a customer usually is paying for. So lean is always thinking about what would the customer pay for. And transport, of course, maybe it's negotiable because sometimes they do pay for transport. But a motion, if you are having a machine doing this, looking at very logically, the customer is not seeing any adding value in the machine making this motion with your product. So the motion over there that is not giving any value, that is just according to Lean and to Tim Woods, to Muda, wastes in this sense. So going to the W. Yeah, I see also already awaiting. Yes, so sometimes it's a little bit combined to the inventory. It can be waiting on from a product perspective. It can be waiting for an employee perspective. It can be waiting for anything, but waiting is not giving any value. The customer would not pay for it. At least in most cases would not pay for it. So waiting is wastes. Going to the O's. I like also the reactions you are giving to each other. Yeah, I already see both overproduction and overprocessing. Think also speaks a little bit for itself, but doing always way more than is expected, or probably if you need to boil water to 100 degrees and it's still boiling at 100 degrees for 4 minutes, it's over processing and doesn't make any sense, so it's waste that you are doing that. Overproduction is more on you are really giving more than you should. The customer was maybe asking for 5 and you're actually made 15, for example. Then you have overproduction, and that is wastes. Let's go to the D. Yeah, nice. Defects, I think, also speaks for itself. If you are making mistakes, or maybe more known as technical debt in the IT world, you have to redo it. I think it speaks for itself. And then we go to the S. Nice. I like the spoilage. I can really imagine. Yes. But the skills one is the correct one according to Tim Woods. So indeed, the skills, if you have a lot of great employees going over there, or maybe even the capacity of a machine, and you're not making it use to the full capacity that it's there, to the full potential, I would say, that's there, then it's also considered as a waste. These days, we also have a newer one. So we have downtime. So if we are placing this into a different order, then we do get downtime, which is maybe for some people a little bit a more easy way to remember. And this is rephrased to extra processing to hit the E. All right. So what I want you to do, and please grab your stickies also for that. I didn't place anything here, so we'll just do that now. Think, and we will just get 2 minutes for that, not too long, but think of your daily work, and think of a waste that you are seeing in your daily work, and where would you categorize this? And you can just put it like behind. Yeah, I prefer downtime too, but I'm used a little bit more than from on Tim Woods. More features. Really curious where the feedback will go. To the defects, interesting. Nice, metro tickets. Okay, please finalize your stickies. We're not gonna get very deep into this, But just know this is a little bit a casual way of just reflecting and see and to fill these categories and see what type of waste this is according to the lean thoughts. And it's also really interesting for me to see, according to everyone working already probably longer in the complex work environment, to see what things are put it in there. So, for example, the more features or the metro tickets. So, thank you for that. So, this is one of the things that you can use very easily in your daily work just to reflect. All right. For now, we continue because we still have quite some things that I wanted to show you. So we covered a little bit the waste part. So we're moving on to the 5 principles, which is the headliner of today, I would say. We already spoke a little bit back here on non-value adding activities. We're going to get a little bit more into the imbalance and the overburden part. But according to Lean, there are 3 things you can categorize your value in. So you have your non-value add, everything that is muda that we just, spoke about. We have your customer value add. So this is really of the keeping in mind your customer's perspective. Everything that the customer is kind of directly paying for, that is customer value add. Then you have your business value add. So we also have to do most of the time with internal stakeholders. Speaking from manufacturing, most of the time we had a logistics versus production area. And those 2 were really operating with each other as an internal customer, I would almost say, but in an internal stakeholder, that is, I think, a better rephrasement. So you have the person, the stakeholder that is eventually really paying and that's keeping your business at the end of the line really alive. Your business value add, that is kind of necessarily waste, but that's also always negotiable, of course. And you have your non-value add, and this is one of the things that a lot of companies are aiming for. No ads, it's direct waste. We can get rid of it without any influence or impact. Okay, so the first principle, we're already arrived here, but these are the 5 lean principles. So this is a continuous flow that you are using for optimizing every single time your process within a company. Starting with value. So knowing what is value in general, what is giving us value. We already touched upon it a little bit. So this is a direct communication also with your customers as well. After value and making concrete in what value actually means, we're continue in the value stream. We will get deeper in it in a moment. And a value stream is just making very transparent where are my pain points, what is my process, and how do I make choices for the upcoming time, and that you are focusing on the biggest, I would say, fishes instead of having all these divided things that you are working on. When you have your value stream, you're focusing on flow. So this is also quite a lot implemented in Scrum, for example. Keeping the flow alive out of the value stream, you will also get a lot of information about flow. And how you can make sure that the flow is getting better after that, or at least know where your bottlenecks are, and we get a little bit deeper into bottlenecks later. Pull. So some of you already talked a little bit about Kanban. We're going to talk about it a little bit more in a moment. So Kanban in high overly is a pull system. What it means a little bit more deeply, we'll get into it a little bit later. And perfection. So keeping the things, the changes that you did alive, but also things around it. But we're getting into that information also in a moment. And this is a circle that you're continuously using and improving on. Or maybe not even improving always, but at least adapting. So that's also why Lean is working so well in an agile work environment, because this was in the past, it was meant to really improve something. So if you have a process line in, for example, a simple domain, you are doing day in, day out the same thing, and you're really improving things and bottlenecks and all those kind of things. But you still have processes alive when you are working in on a board, for example. So that's why the lean principles are still coming in handy, and maybe not necessarily always using the improvement word on itself, but still being the adaptive, what is fitting at that moment of time, according to what you are delivering at that moment of time. And that's why lean still has a lot of overlaps with agile on itself. Okay, going back, so we're already started with the value part and the different types of value. So one of the things that you can do with your customer, that is also a tool from Lean. We're going to touch upon it a little bit because we still have quite some things to talk about. Know your stakeholders, and also within your stakeholders, know who is the customer who's eventually paying, or maybe the user who's eventually using, and know all the people around it and what type of stakeholders they are. So maybe a lot of you are already using, but stakeholder mapping is also very commonly used. Just to know what type of stakeholders you are, and for what reason you are talking to which type of stakeholder, and in which feedback loop or communication channel you have to put them into. We're not going to get into very deeply in the stakeholder map for now, but this is a Lean tool, so it's called CPOC, if you have an abbreviation of the first letters out of it. And most of the time, lean and continuous improvement is starting at the end, so from the customer side. So first, making an overview on what does the customer actually wants. And in actually wants, we can use a model. I will get that into it a little bit later, because you can have the must-be's, that's really adding value according to functionality. And you can have some wishes that is giving more on the satisfaction side, but more in a moment. If you have very clear what your customer wants, then you can think about, okay, for that realization of what the customer wants, what output do I need? You can summarize those. Reflecting back from output, you can analyze on what processes do I need to generate the outputs that I want, and what do I need in place to have to get those that output out of it. Going one step back out of the processes, you reflect back on what input do I need for the processes, and going one step back, what supplier and what material or what resources, etc., do I need to generate that input. Why we are doing it from back to end is because if you're starting at the supplier part and you're going to input, you're not putting the customer central at that point of time, and keeping the customer central, and you're probably all aware of this. That's one thing where you can adapt, and keeping it from this side towards that side, it's making the focus a little bit more on the supplier or input side, and that gives you a little bit less freedom and less creativity to focus on not changing anything on this side. So really putting focus on what does the customer need and reflecting it back. With letting go what you're having in place now, that's one of the things that Lean is using as a tool to analyze what am I doing now, and what do I really need, and you can reflect that back to your current process that you have in place, and if that's even logical or not. So this is one way to see your value and already to have an overview on what you are doing, if that's a little bit if that's a little bit on the right track or not. One thing to get a little bit a deeper understanding on your customers' needs. You have a lot of things that sometimes customers or stakeholders in general can ask, but there's a difference on what are must-haves. So that is giving contribution on something functional and what is satisfaction. So, for example, getting pizzas, maybe you can also think for yourself already for a moment. But if you are thinking of must-be's on getting pizzas, let's put it also in the chat. So what are your must-be's for getting a pizza? Sipok, nice. So you are a customer of ordering a pizza. What are your must-be's? What are your must-haves?
Really love being able to choose the toppings on my pizza.
We are the customer, to answer your question. Okay. I see some of you are still typing, but as indeed thinking of from a customer's perspective, there are a few must-haves. So if I'm thinking very practically on what is a must-have, so maybe you can think of, and every customer is different, so this is a conversation that you are needing to have with the customers that you are having. But maybe it's the pizza should be hot. It's unacceptable that you are taking a pizza away when it's just there when it's cold. Maybe one of the things is that you can choose your own topics, or maybe you can already pre-mate or tell them what you want on them, that you know these are the topics that I really like, and this is a must that is in there. What else did I saw in the chat? Okay, so maybe you have some ingredients that are a must in there. So a standardized size, I do see cheese, sauce. So that's the conversation that you're going to have with your customer. Like, okay, what are really the must-be's? And be careful, because the conversation can also end like this is a must, and this is a must, and this is a must. But be critical about it, like if this wouldn't be there, or even have the conversation, is this more important than that one? So having also an ordering in that sense to compare those two elements together. Is it more important that you have cheese on it, or is it more important that you have the other right ingredients on it? Or is it more important that the pizza is hot? And then you can have an example with your customer in the must-be section, which would be your order. Then we have our satisfaction, nice things to have. So we're not for now going to put it into the chat, but you can think, and this is just my perspective, there are a lot of other things, of course, but maybe having a nice logo on the box. Maybe I don't put a lot of it's not a must-be for me, but it's nice to have a good look on the box itself. So it would be great to have that in there. Or maybe it's really nice to really overdo it, that the person who is selling it to me is always singing a nice song to me or whatever. You can make it a little bit as crazy as you want. So having clear all the satisfaction thing for the example of getting pizzas, that's the one where you are differentiating yourself from probably the whole industry, because the functional things that are usually also the things, and of course sometimes people have a very specific thing that they are doing, but making pizzas is probably not one of them. But the must-be's are more focusing on something that is just there and is clear, functionally giving, and the satisfaction part is more on the extra. So yeah, it's nice that it's that some person is singing a song when delivering my pizza, but is it really necessary and putting something into the function? Probably not. And somewhere in the middle, there is where the performance according to the Kano model lies. So having all the functionalities where possible in place, and that's also negotiable, of course, and having some slight satisfaction thing to have the understanding or where the performance lies according to this model. So this is a way. Of course, there are several ways to have the conversation with your customers, but this is a way to make decisions and to have the conversation with your customer on what is important, what is functionally important, and what is really satisfaction important. All right. No, I leave this open. So this is a little bit touching upon the value part. So first step of this whole circle is making clear what is your value, because this is one of the things you're going to steer on the upcoming time till you have that feedback loop again. And that's, I think, a very powerful thing to do to really verify your assumptions. So when you have done this, you can take a look into your value stream. So for today, I chose a very easy process. So making tea, as in my introduction, I'm more a tea person than a coffee person. So simplified it, you are measuring, you are boiling after, you are mixing it while the tea flavor is adding, you're pouring it in a cup, you have your tea as output, and the customer is at this point picking it up by itself. So there are two different things that you can do. One of the things, I think, yeah, we'll remove this one. So you can just do this step by step, and there are way more things that you can do, but I try to simplify it just to get things started. Adding times to every process step, that is one of the things that I usually do first. So to have a clear understanding. So let's say, wait, yellow is not very visible. So let's say pouring in a cup takes 50 seconds. Let's say I do this very randomly. Boiling is taking 90 seconds. Let's say measuring is taking 10 seconds. Mixing is taking just 1 second. And picking it up to, let's say 20 seconds. So with this, we already put our process visible. We already added some times. What can we already see according to the times? And you can already put that with a sticky in this box over here. Yeah, see already quite some good things. Boiling is waiting time is bottleneck. Maybe yes, maybe no. We'll get into that in a little moment. Total time, lead time. Do something. Oh, do something else. While boiling, I think. Which stage is the shortest? Okay, I already see quite some good things. Thank you for that. One of the next steps that you can do, and it doesn't really matter in which order you are doing, I think it all gives some value. So you can also probably, the measuring is not in the, if you are thinking of manufacturing, because I come from manufacturing, but also in a complex work environment, probably it's not like one phase is over. For example, the developing phase is over and you have a peer review right ahead. So you do have times in between. Nice, thanks for the ordering part also. So you do have probably sometimes in between as well. That's also something you can add. So for example, you have here also 5 seconds of waiting time in between. You have here maybe 20 seconds of waiting time in between. From the mixing to pouring in a cup, let's say, oh, let's say 0. I think I like that. That one is straight. So this is a way also to make clear, and here as well, what is happening when there is no value adding happening at that moment. Handover, nice, yeah. And it's now very simplified, but of course there are way more things to do with this. So if you are thinking and reflecting it back to the first conversation we were having, you have customer value add, business value add, and a non-value add. And this is then from probably a customer perspective, unless you are doing this only for the business, but probably not. Then you have your non-value add you have over here. So if you're taking this already a little bit more down. And then you still have your value adding like above. And you can count all the time together. So if you count the complete time for ordering till it's picked up, it's the lead time. So that is this together. That's your lead time when you are really start working. So when you are starting, when you're having it on your backlog and start doing something, that's where your cycle time is starting. And when you're having your output, that's also where your cycle time is ending. So the picking it up or the transport part is not taking place in that sense where it's really at the end of the step of your customer most of the time. We'll get into this probably in a moment. But this already gives us a little bit of an overview. Okay, like we can now calculate what is our complete cycle time. We can calculate what is our complete lead time. And we can also calculate the difference very high overly on what is giving value. So that are the greenish stickies, and what is non-value adding. So that are the real actual waste that is over here. So then there is a decision we can make just to have this information. And just to confirm, this is not complete information, but this is already giving us some insights. We can focus on maybe reducing this, or you can focus on optimize indeed the flow. And I already saw bottleneck and those kind of words in general, just to see where the quickest win is according to time, or according to what is giving the most frustration, or any adding other value that you are considering that it's given. Another thing that is mostly done in this is adding the measurements. So for example, if you have measuring over here and you are making, for example, here let's just put it to grams, just to make it simple as possible, or a liter, 2 liters, and you're making here 4 liters. And you're making here 1 liter. Oh. And you're making here 5 liters. And the pickup is the pickup, and the ordering is the ordering. So this gives us also additional information. So if the machines are built, for example, to give just this one thing, so having 10 seconds for 2 liters and having 90 seconds for 4 liters, you can also maybe consider it, instead of focusing on this, to get 2 measuring things, machines, whatever it is, over here to have in the same 10 seconds next to each other, the 4 liters, because of the capacity. So this gives a lot of information for us to play with. You can really focus on what is your adding value and what do you want to have a quick win. And sometimes it's a very clear thing. So if you are seeing out of the non-value add, like this is the biggest one, that's one of the things you can try to focus on. If you see also, okay, this is taking by far the most seconds, this is maybe worth exploring to see if you can find something that is reducing those seconds, for example. If you are seeing, like, for example, if this was just 0.2, then this is according to the capacity in amounts, one of the things that is very low. So this value stream gives us a lot of information on the several layers where you can put your focus on. And it's not black and white, like you have to focus on this part of you have to focus on that one, but it's just to give an overview and an information on why you are making choices. Next to that, a very common thing that people are doing for every step is giving the percentages. So for example, if the measuring part is up and running for just 10%, and let's say the boiling part is just running for 5%, and the mixing part is running for, let's say, 95%, and the pouring in cup machine is running for 55%. So this also gives us additional information if you know that. So according to, if we refer it back to lean, having things not moving around or not used at all, that is waste. So having one machine running for just 5% is maybe a question mark if that is the way we want to move forward. So this is also another way or another layer that you can reflect back. Is this something that we are wanting to continue to? And this might also be one of the focus points. And sometimes you also have several things together. So for example, you see here, this is just 5%, and this is also 90 seconds. Yeah, then probably the boiling area is one of your focus points that you want to work on. Yeah, next to that, people who are working in several areas, according to the time, we're gonna skip that one for now. But any questions so far? Okay, for now, I will continue. So this is also what I use in the complex work environment now. To make things visible and to make things clear according to processes, and to see if we really are focusing on big fishes, or if we are just trying to improve things that doesn't make any sense. Okay, cool. So that was about value stream. This is also huge. There are way more things to get into, but I think this is a very simple way to get started. So going back to flow, I already saw the word bottleneck over there. I also saw lead time, cycle time mentioned several times. throughput. So a lot of things from the Scrum with Kanban is also implemented in this sense. So that has a lot to do with understanding and implementing the flow. One piece flow or single piece flow, it was called by one person, was also stated over there. So understanding your lead time and understanding your cycle time, that gives, even separate from the whole value stream map, gives us already quite some information on how are we doing and what can we promise to our customer. And if we see things piling up, so the value stream is really helping in making things a little bit more concrete. But if you have, for example, a typical Kanban board and you see in one row everything is piling up, that is probably one of the things you should work on. Yeah. For the persons, probably you also already know, but throughput is also a measurement that's giving you a clear understanding and can be done on the cycle time and on the lead time. Most of the time, it's mostly done on the cycle time because that's something that you can influence most of the time most. So that is a general. A number of products divided by the time, so you have an understanding what you are generally delivering according to. You can reflect it back to items on your board, you can reflect it back to parts in manufacturing, and so on. So the throughput is really helping you understand, and it's really giving a different conversation also with your customers. If they are asking like how long does it take, then you can give, I wouldn't say a guarantee, but you can give an indication with a percentage with how sure you are, because you can reflect that back on how often that happens, and to give an indication to a customer instead of using deadlines. Okay, so focusing on bottlenecks or the theory of constraints. So going back to our value stream, let's say we have our 90 seconds over here. We just have a capacity of 5% over here. So by far, out of all the things, that is one of the things that is having a lot of impact on our whole process. And I would say also, this might also be a nice focus point because it's a non-value add, and this is holding nothing back, or maybe there is, but understanding why this is even there, maybe there's nothing, that would also be, I think, a very interesting one to work on. So what can you do if you analyzed your bottleneck? So the theory of constraint is really working on, if you remove your bottleneck, obviously your bottleneck will your bottleneck will be somewhere else, but you don't have that 90 seconds over here. Like, let's say this is half, then your bottleneck moves to another place, and this is a way of continuously improving according to Lean. So one way to remove the bottleneck and to really understand more, it's called motion studies. And that's really getting deeper into what is actually happening in this boiling area in this example. So you can put the actions, you just mention the average time on what is really happening. And a standard deviation that it's taking. So for example, sometimes it maybe takes 90, sometimes it takes a little bit more, but is boiling the only thing happening? And do we see it probably maybe already boiling a little bit earlier? And then you can have the conversation around it. Maybe we see also an operator standing next to it doing something extra. We don't know, but having a complete understanding, and if the boiling is really boiling only, or also some side steps in between, that's the conversation that you are trying to have. So making it clear every step that is happening and getting deeper into what is happening in the boiling side in that 90 seconds. Is it only really boiling, or is there more into it? That gives an overview within the boiling step on still what is giving value, non-value add, and what is still giving a customer value add. So doing kind of a value stream map within the value stream map to get a little bit better understanding on this, and then you can maybe eliminate some things even. So very high overly, but that's high overly how you can get into the bottlenecks and removing that. Continue to the pull side. So we also mention a lot of you should not push and you should pull. We also mentioned the one-piece flow. So having our little process here again, and having our backlog here again. The push system is really working. I said also in the beginning, you want to be starting from the other side. So actually the customer is telling you what your output should be, and your output is reflecting back, if we're going back to here, on what the process should be, and your process is telling what your input should be, and your input is telling what your supplier what you need for that part. So this is kind of the same. So every step ideally that you want to have over here is that this step at the end, so in this is really done. So the testing part should go a little bit faster in general than the in process part, and the in progress part should go a little bit faster than the to-do part, and the to-do part should be a little bit faster than the backlog part, or reflecting it back to here. So the pouring into the cup should go a little bit faster than the mixing part, and the little mixing part should go a little bit faster than the boiling part, and the boiling part should go a little bit faster than the measuring part, and the measuring part should go a little bit faster, if possible, to the ordering part. But this is a little bit tricky because here the ordering part is also the customer part. But this is the ideal idea of pooling. And this is also a way how you prevent to having no bottlenecks. So you can also imagine when you are driving on the roads, and ideally you want to have it or exactly the same, or having the one person before you driving a little bit faster to keep the pacing alive, and the person before that having or exactly the same or a little bit faster to keep the pool alive. And this gives a lot of breathing space to everyone, and this whole thing that is actually, according to Lean, what is called Kanban. So the pooling system, that is what is called Kanban, and of course it goes together with flow, but this is the essential of Kanban according to Lean. All right, so going to the, not the last part, but a little bit to the ending part. So I already saw someone putting 5S over there. So the last part out of the principles is perfection. So perfection is really to make it work, and not for a one time, but really to have it sustainably work. So if you removed a bottleneck here and adjusted the way of working, that it's known by everybody, everybody is trained on it, everybody is aware of it, and that's new normal. So that's what perfection is all about. Next to that, there are other things according to perfection. So one of the things is visual management. This is obviously an example out of the industry, but making things as logically and visible as possible, so there is no room for making mistakes in that sense. That's one of the things you can use to towards perfection according to Lean. And one of the other things that's going hand in hand what we talked about, so using or the principles, or sometimes a Kaizen project, so going deeper into something, but that's a different conversation, and having a plan, do, check, act on it. So here you probably plan in the beginning when you found out according to your value stream what you can do, then you're gonna go into the do. You're going to optimize this, you're going to check it, and you're going to act upon it at the last part. And that's a way to have continuous improvement alive. And a standard, I wouldn't say standardization, but it's just a way of working that is working for your company at that time. So those are things that is according to perfection. 5S is also one of the things, so it's also aligned with the visual management. So this is also use what you're using and making things easy for the eye as possible. So having a very easy example here, I have some numbers over here. So instead of piling it up, just putting it into order. We have a 3, a 4, a 5, 28, we have a 2, we have a 1. So set in order, shine. So this is crossed. So remove the crossed ones to let it shine, for example. Here we see standardized, so we have a 1 over here, and instead of having a 1 over here, it would be nice to have the same ones, having it, if possible, equally in size. And also set in order is same, is also, is the 28 really needed, or can we cover it up with just the 5 that we're already having? So that's a little bit the idea of very high overlay of 5S. And then we are back to the circle. So going back to your customers again, know again what your value is, go back to your value stream again, go back to your flow, your full perfection. And that's how the circle is continuously working, and that you can use in your hopefully daily work. Any questions? Okay. Last, thanks for the sound effect. Last thing, I already saw some people doing that. Obviously, I really want to thank you, but please also fill in some feedback of the session, so I can also learn from it and improve if I forgot something, or if some things were still some complicated. Please put in your biggest learning as well. We don't have time to come back to it for now because it's also the end of the session, but also take a moment when you have time to look for yourself back if you got your questions answered. And let's take 2 minutes for that and then concludes.
Music coming back on while you digest and think of that feedback. Obviously, lean and continuous improvement requires input from people, and you've all experienced some great learning there from Ashvini. So do please take a moment to reward her, thank her for her time, feed her with the feedback that I know she is keen for.
Thanks.
All right, shall we do it?
Right. Yes.
Oh.
So thanks everyone. I also saw a question if I give workshops or official training. So at this moment not, but yeah, I will let you guys know if it changes. So I want to focus at first to get my master black belt and focus on other things at this moment of time.
Excellent.
Well, everyone, please take a moment to thank Ashvini for her great session today. I have enabled the reactions. If you press R on your keyboard, or press the little reactions navigation button on the left-hand side, you can press some of those and share some love. Make it noisy. Go. Thank you again, Ashvini. It's been great to have you here. Thank you for helping to organise the session, David. And we look forward to seeing you all in one of our sessions in the near future, gang.
Thanks, Ashvini. Appreciate it.
Thanks all for the session and helping to organize. So I also really enjoyed also to get to know Butter.
It's a cool tool. They are our sponsors. They sponsor our meetup, and we love it because it's nice and interactive. It's a bit more streamlined. Bit more streamlined than the Zooms and otherwise, because you've got everything you need inside one location.
Yeah.
And if anyone is intrigued about using Butter, let me know, because I can get you a discount on using it. It's part of our sponsorship that we have.
Okay. All right.
Have a great evening, folks. Thank you. Till next time.